This is a test of the Boundary Park alert system. This is the Boundary Park alert system. This is a first, Andy.
Yeah.
We've never recorded in the manager's office before.
No. Yeah.
Considering we were banned from this stand a couple of years ago,
Really?
things have come a long way.
Indeed.
Let's just say we are delighted to be sat in the office of Oldham Athletic first team manager, Mr. David Unsworth.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everybody.
How are you
Hello,
doing?
guys? Yeah, good.
Good. Yeah, we see each other here and there. Last time we saw you was at the end of season party that we had. There was an inflatable rhino.
I actually said to the lad the other week when we had the business meeting, and was it the business meeting? I think it was the business meeting. And he was there, and he was like, "Oh, I spent a fortune on that." I said, "Right, I'll do you a favour. I'll do you a deal. We get promoted, I'll wear that at the promotion party with absolute pleasure." So,
there we go.
I've set myself up now, haven't I?
Yeah. Well, everyone's listening.
And I've just said it on the podcast now.
Yeah.
So,
But that was the thing. Like at the end of last season, we felt like we had something to celebrate, didn't we, Andy? We felt like we had some optimism.
Yeah.
And everything was different. Fast forwarded from 12 months. It was.
you
such
got
a
your
different
club back,
vibe.
didn't you?
Yeah.
The Oldham fans got the club back,
Yeah.
and I could see it, I can hear it, and it's nice to be part of it. It's amazing to be part of it. Not just, forget the football side of it for 1 second, but to be part of, what's gone on, and rebuild it, and rebuild it as well as we are doing and have done already. It's an absolute privilege, it really is.
So what has the summer been? So your first summer, where you've got the opportunity to, lay down how you want it to work, the opportunity to recruit the type of players you want. What's the summer been like in terms of? Has it been more difficult than you expected? What's your work-life balance been like? Like we've been sat here just setting up, watching you, chatting away on the phone. It looks like you're at it all day and night.
Yeah, it doesn't stop. Work-life balance. Well.
What does the wife say?
There is none. Even, went on holiday for 10 days and I was on the phone. I would say the phone never left my side unless I was going to the bar. So, and even then I was still taking calls at the bar one day. But no, it's part of the job. It's part of, you don't want to miss a call. You don't want to miss a call from, your recruitment department. You don't want to miss a call from Darren about what's going on, So we all had individual holidays. So I went away for 10 days, and Darren went away, and Steve went away. And so there's always somebody holding the fort and sort of, conducting the orchestra, really. And being on your phone, it doesn't matter where you are, does it, these days? So it's been non-stop. It's probably been busier in pre-season and summer than it's ever been. So,
is it, as much as it's obviously hard work, is it enjoyable?
God, yeah, it's enjoyable because you're building a football club. So what we've just said about building, getting the fans getting the club back, you being back invited, even something as what you've just said. Then you're allowed back in to the manager's office or the stand. I mean, they're words that I don't understand.
Last time I came in here, Paul Dickov was manager.
Right.
And I've been back in since because...
And how many managers we had since then?
Oh, yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, just put it
absolutely
into
ridiculous.
context. I mean, like, we came, dropped our stuff off, you had a few calls to make.
Yeah.
We'd already been invited for lunch, so we went in to the players' lounge, playing pool, all eating, dead relaxed atmosphere. The new lads, you asked Dan Ward how he's settling in, he said great.
Yeah.
The atmosphere around the place, looking out the window of the ground, the pitch, it's just, in 12 months, this club has stepped up hugely, and that is tremendously exciting from our point of view, because 12 months is a very short amount of time, isn't it?
It is. It's a very, very short amount of time from the first day I walked into this office and looked at the squad, looked at where we lived, how we lived, where we trained, how we trained. It's come a long, long way. It was embarrassing, really.
There's been a lot of conversation amongst the fans, and we were always like, we've had our Zen t-shirts with the Rhino on, and like, look, it's going to take time. I was saying to people last season, the players that we signed last season were the players to keep us in the division, not to get us promoted. This season, is it fair to say that the players that we brought in have been brought in with an eye on getting out of this division? They're a step up from...
Spot on. Yeah, I'm not going to lie to... I've never lied to any fan. I'm not going to start doing that now. The way you sum it up is exactly how it was. We had to stop ourselves from falling again last year. The place was in a mess and a complete mess when I came in. Purely from a footballing point of view. I've obviously got involved in all the infrastructure with Darren and the board of making it better in every area. But the fans, I said not bothered about that. Of course, they're bothered, and it's really important. But you only see what goes on the pitch for 90 minutes every week. So that's, it was really important for me to start building that infrastructure as well.
Well, let's talk about a bit of that infrastructure. So when we interviewed Darren last November, he was explaining to us how you've got the coaching staff, you've got the scouting staff, so the head of recruitment, Steve, and the stats department. So there was an analyst, and there's a couple of people in that department. So how many people constitute the scouting division? How many people we've got in the analyst team now? Has that grown, or
okay.
And how do the three departments work together? So when you talked about you guys having holidays, sort of tag teaming holidays, so there's always someone holding the fort. How do those three departments work in complement with each other?
Okay, so when I came in, there was no scout. We didn't have head scout. We didn't have chief scout. We didn't have any scouts. We didn't have any analysis. We had one physio, and there was 30 odd players, and 62%, I'll get this right, I worked it out, 62% of those players on the first day were injured. We had we didn't meet in the morning for breakfast. They were given a pot of noodles, pasta, for lunch. There was no water, no bottled water for the players or any sort of rehydration units to, before training, after training. What else was there not? It was a joke. It was, and it was quite worrying.
Yeah.
It was quite worrying.
Sounds it.
When you come from Everton as well.
Well, it's not that.
Was there a
It's not that, because
I'd
I'd obviously been at Everton, but I've also been to Sheffield United, Preston in the Championship, Huddersfield when they were in the League One. So I'm not elitist.
No.
I'm not one of those guys who,
But you must be coming from a club that at Premier League level that seems like has it all to something.
Our under 10s had it better than Oldham's first team at Everton. So that was a worrying first day. Then I looked at the squad. Then I've looked at the performances over a couple of weeks, first game, and it was worrying. So straight away, I knew. Straight away that it was going to be a massive turnaround, a massive turnaround. So then we talk every day, myself, Darren, Franny came in with me at the beginning. John, had to work a period of notice at Everton. So it was me, Franny and Darren really, right at the beginning. And, I speak to Darren, I speak to him 20 times a day. We meet every day. We meet before, after, as we just about before we go home. At the end of every working day.
Must be sick of each other.
Well, no, he's a good guy to be fair. So we came up with a plan. So the plan was straight away. We had to get the players fit. Players weren't fit. They'd had a really poor pre-season, not because of John Sheridan, but because there was no money available for John. To sign the players that he wanted, to do any work on the training ground, to get any.
There wasn't a training ground.
There wasn't a training ground. It was just basically Little Wembley was rubbish. Yeah. Chapel Road was just left and it was burnt. The pitch was burnt. Field, it was ridiculous. He didn't have a fitness coach. He had one physio, and God bless her. Claire, she's since gone off and had a baby, and we're delighted with that. And she was just pulling her hair out. It was just ridiculous. Players were training on really rock hard pitches, getting injured. It was just a disaster.
Well, fast forward that to today. What have we got now?
Well, we've got unbelievable playing surfaces. We've got a proper coaching team.
Yeah.
We've got a recruitment department that's headed up by Steve Thompson, who knows everybody in football.
How many scouts has he got?
So so Steve's the head scout, and we employ on a part-time basis, game per game, probably 10 scouts.
10
who go off.
When we interviewed Darren in November, it was 5.
Yeah.
So we've expanded that.
So players, so scouts go to games for us.
Yeah.
Ad hoc some, but there's the core 5 or 6, and then we have other people working for us.
Yeah.
Going to games or watching teams and doing team analysis or individual reports on players. So we have a head analysis who now links in with the media team, with the scouts, with analysis as well on performance, linked in with the medical team. So the medical team now, we have a fitness coach, we have 2 physios, we have Mick Rathbone, who's head of rehabilitation, plus is very, very experienced in the physio world. What Baz doesn't know isn't worth knowing. I've said this coaching department. We link in now with the academy. The academy now, Paul's back.
Yeah.
So Paul, we've now got an under-18 coach as well as Paul.
So Chucks,
yeah. He's a great character, great guy, very popular, good coach. So we meet regularly with them. So there's a real detailed staffing structure. We regularly meet all around players, all about performance, all around how we can.
So how does it work? Let's say we've signed a couple of midfielders over the summer. How does it work? Is it you that says, right, I need a centre midfielder?
Yeah.
Stats department, research centre midfielders within a certain radius of where we are that would earn a certain amount of money or of a certain age, and they go and research them, come up with a list of. I'm making this up, by the way. You can. You're
doing well. It's quite good.
There's 20 centre midfielders we think fit the brief. Then you send the scouts out to go and watch them. You get the reports, and you might get half a dozen that you then go and look at yourself and choose. Is that how it works, or is it working a different way?
In a broad sense, you're on the money, yeah. And obviously, you include myself, John, Franny when he was here as scouts as well, because we regularly go to games. I'm never off Y Scout. We have an analysis tool called StatsBomb, which is an unbelievable tool to back up your professional eye, which we use all the time.
We're the only National League club that has it, aren't we?
Yes, we are. Yeah. So far. I'm not sure whether any clubs have gone down that line.
I assume, therefore, it's expensive.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's just knowing that was out there to help us, and they actually approached us.
Yeah.
To be the first team in the National League to use it. So that was amazing. That was fantastic. They offered it to us.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I didn't realise that. Yeah. Darren talked about it when we interviewed him as though it was like a genuine point of difference. I just wondered, obviously he comes from that background.
Well, I was just going to say,
he knows the
it's
difference.
Great for me because Darren acts as a scout as well, because he comes from, the old pro zone and analytical background, which, Darren loves his stats and so do I. So I'm really lucky that not only have I got a CEO who knows football inside out, but he's also worked in the industry and he was one of the founder members of Prozone. So that's amazing for us. And he's played a big part in the recruitment side and plays a big part alongside Steve as well. So it really is, there's nothing ever beats your eye. So, but it also, StatsBomb, Y Scout. I mean, we can pick up any game in the world at any time. And watch individual players, watch teams, watch anybody.
Give us an idea of a stat that, because we all see the stuff that really, I guess, is in the public domain. Things like expected goal stats or that sort. What are the sort of things that you look for?
So it would depend on the position.
Yeah.
So we can actually write our own stats bomb sort of graph, really.
Okay.
So say we target a fullback. So obviously, how many crosses does he put in?
Yeah.
How many crosses does he stop? How many times does he pass over the halfway line? Does he dribble over the halfway line? And what's his pass completion like? How many times does he win the ball at the back post defensively?
Yeah.
How many opportunities does he create? How many final third entries does he get the ball in? You can basically write your own.
Okay.
So when you're doing your analysis, you're saying we're not doing enough of this, we're not doing enough of that, and you're identifying the mistakes and the missed opportunities. You're like, you can literally say we need a player who's going to do that specific role, amongst other things.
Yeah, and you obviously, you don't always use it as a negative. It can be used for a great positive in terms of how many crosses do we get in, how many goal scoring opportunities do we have, and what are the positives and what we're doing well to keep doing it and enforcing those points. So it really is, used. I mean, back in the old days, Pro Zone, I remember being in a room with David Moyes for 2-3 hours on a Friday morning, and it was just so boring. Oh my God, you used to come out there and you'd have to train and you're like, oh my God, this player looks world class who you're up against. But now we use it as a positive tool, as a real, to reinforce the players and, really shape them into where we can exploit, opposition weaknesses and individuals' weaknesses as well. So we use it more as a positive than we do as a negative.
One of the things that came up on Twitter was last season, the heat map for Lundstrom's performance for Altrincham and how much of the pitch he covered.
Every blade, wasn't it?
And we've been crying out for that midfielder that is up and down the pitch over the last couple of seasons. Well, God knows how many seasons actually. But like last season, it was, and it was exciting to see how much ground he covered, and it's obviously going to make a big difference to how you play.
Yeah, and again, that's just another tool that you can use and look at and help you, certainly in your analysis and your recruitment as well. And the two overlap, and it's great that we've got experts in that field now. And certainly with Josh, he's a player that not only did he play well against us, but when we watched him, he was consistent. He didn't miss games. He played every single minute. That he won Player of the Year. When you look at him, you think, right, well, is he better than what we've got?
What is it about Players of the Year pissing off when they win the award?
Well, I'm sure we'll go into that later. But our remit, I think, with our form from New Year to the end of the season, our remit changed. Certainly when Notts County and Wrexham both got promoted, that was a big thing for us. And we felt now it was a case of, okay, we're not just recruiting players that are better than what we've got. We can recruit now players that we believe could get us promoted. And that was a shift. And that, all of a sudden the phone starts ringing, as you experienced before.
Yeah.
Players want to come.
Yeah, it's incoming as well as...
We were begged, stealing and borrowing, to get players to come to the club in September. That level of player just to get us over the line. Now, I've had a Championship player yesterday offered to me, League One players all the time, League Two players. It really is a massive positive in terms and change from 12 months ago, where players want to come to play for Oldham. They want to come without a shadow of a doubt.
We were in a relegation battle last season, and you might not want to come to a relegation battle in Division 5, but you're starting a clean slate now, start the season. You look at we just had a wander around the ground and look at all the work that's being done. It looks like a place to be. You talked about them being given a pot of noodles. We just had lunch with the players and the staff in the suite, and what the spreads on there: tuna, salmon, chicken, it's all really nicely cooked stuff. And
if this is the first time you've been here, when you're doing the dugout and everything, you had to guess what division is this club in?
Yeah.
You wouldn't say National League, would you?
Yeah.
But I mean, the harsh reality is that is where we're at, isn't it? So,
it is, and it's it's my job to manage expectation, and we all want to go where we all want to know, we all want to be successful. So, talking about nutrition, talking about recruitment, analysis, these are all, pieces of the jigsaw you must implement to be successful. You can't do it without one of those pieces. It all has to be right.
So one of the stats that you could pick out from last season was, possession-wise, certainly it got better, obviously, as the season went, as you talk about our form improved, and we were third in the table from Christmas, which showed a distinct improvement over the season. But we still probably had poor possession stats. Now, possession in everything, goals is better the possession, I appreciate. But you can almost see how to get on the front foot and be in control of games instead of sort of sitting back and trying to stay in games. We need to have better possession stats. So you have signed two centre midfielders in Dan Ward and Josh Lundstrom. So you've almost, it's indicative of the fact that we need to control the games better. Do you expect those things to improve this year? Do you think we might be able to play more on the front foot? Do you think possession stats might increase?
Okay, so first thing is when you sign better players, performance in all areas will increase.
Yeah.
And I am expecting us to have the ball more.
Yeah.
Would I sacrifice having 20 more passes for an opportunity on goal? No.
Mm-hmm.
I've also got to take into consideration my audience, you as a fan.
Yeah.
What do you want to see? Would the Oldham Athletic fans like to see us play keep ball football for 50 passes and go nowhere? And, in every 50 passes, we have 2 attempts on goal. Now, I learned very quickly here from the people behind me that,
I wouldn't say the main stand paddock is a good example of the whole stadium.
But you've got to know your audience. And, that was part of my learning, that the Oldham Athletic fans like 2 strikers. And that's brilliant because, we played with 2 strikers then. But then you've got to play in a certain way to supply those strikers. And then at the same time, have you got the calibre of player to play possession football? Listen, I've done it all. I've had teams at Everton who have kept the ball for 4 and played out from the back, because that's how, the manager at the time wanted to play, and that was filtered down, and that's absolutely brilliant. But I'm in a results business. I've got to keep my job. I've got to bide time to get the calibre of player to get us promoted. So, I don't know whether I've answered your question, really. It's a bit of both. Yes, do want to play and have more
possession. You have to adapt, though, don't you? In a game of football, you have to adapt, don't you?
There are times
just
when
one size fits all, is it?
And I think obviously as the season went on, our stats did improve in that area because we were winning games and we were becoming more confident. And there's times when we will play 3 midfielders. There's times when we'll play 2 strikers. My theory on, I think we have to be adaptable, and I certainly know my audience here at Banbury.
Don't listen to it.
Right. Look, at the end of the day, if you're winning football matches, nobody will care a single job. And we all know that great sides win football matches when they're not playing well. So, a lot of that is a mindset, isn't it? Where we won games last season or we lost games last season, or we drew games where we were the better team, but we didn't complete the job, and vice versa. So, I think that all of the fans in this stadium will be quite happy if we're winning football matches, and that's about it, really.
But you're the expert here. You're the ex Premier League player with hundreds of appearances. You've coached youth football, first team football. You're the expert. We're not. So to a degree, the audience. I get your point.
I think it's important that you understand your audience, and I understand that they want to play fast football here, creating opportunities, creating chances. And early on, we did play a little bit of football, and it was painful because we made a few mistakes, and the calibre of player wasn't at the level that it is now, and it makes players nervous if they're trying to do things that they've never done before. So that all comes with having time in the job, recruiting better type of player, quality players. And we will play at times and some of the stuff, but I won't sacrifice certainly creating opportunities and scoring goals.
Because we tried to be the voice of reason, didn't we, last season on the thing? Because this was our theory, was that you've come in, you've got to analyse all your players. There's no point trying to get, players of, let's say, limited ability, limited fitness, or whatever, they're not going to go out and do what you want them to do in your mind. So you have to adapt, and you have to get that team going back to basics and get them harder to beat. And that's what it seemed like to us, that was the remit for last season, was just to get this team doing simple things better, stop making mistakes, stop letting the late goals in. And you got them to a point, didn't you, after Christmas, where it was, a bit grim, where they started to implement those things that you were after.
It takes time. But you only have to look at the two winning machines in our league last year, Notts County, Wrexham. And they are both at polar ends of the spectrum in terms of style.
Yeah.
Both winning machines. One plays a brand of football, the other plays a different brand of football. I don't see Wrexham fans moaning.
When they those two times down there.
And by the way, they lumped it. Yeah. They played for long throws, set pieces, corners, and Notts County, play for fun.
That's some good stuff.
So, and only just scraped over the line in the semi-final and final by that style of football. So it's horses for courses. They were both winning machines, and I just want us to become a winning machine.
And that's the scary thing about this division. Both Notts County, like you said, this season and last season, Wrexham, both of them failed last season. This is you can be head and shoulders above everybody in this division over a season and not go up. And that is, I think that's what freaks us all out a little bit, is the potential to keep being, to do that and not go up. Hopefully the 3 up, 3 up down thing will come in at some point. I don't know if there's any news on that.
I think it's going to be too late this season to be implemented. But certainly, Darren's on the board now, so certainly it's something that will come in next season.
Hopefully we don't need it.
Hopefully, But it is a tough division to get out.
It is a tough league.
It's not getting any easier, is it?
It's the amount of games that you've got to play back to back that is a problem. But it's a grind, and we've got to be in it for the long haul.
So, in terms of this season, if you were to define, like you said, you've got to be adaptable. You'll have different systems on different games depending on what the opposition is. But if I were to say to you, how do you want to see us play? Are we going to be defensively minded first? Are we going to employ a high press? I know you could change in different environments. Is it going to be a formational change? But I guess let's start with that. We're going to be defence-minded first, sit back and hit on the counter, because we've got pace and that worked last season. Or are we going to, with the players we've signed, try and press further? Because Josh Lundstrom's interview after Hyde was quite revealing. He said, I'm being asked to play more aggressively than I'm used to. And I think everyone went, oh, okay, that's interesting. That sounds like we're going to go high press.
So my education at Everton as a player, as a coach, working with the likes of Colin Harvey, Jimmy Gabriel, Howard Kendall, Joe Royal, top players, coaches, managers. Their approach in my education and John Ebrill's education at Everton and our beliefs as coaches and managers now is to play fast, dynamic football. Okay. That is how we were brought up. That includes having pace in the team, being really aggressive, whether you are pressing from the front, whether you're pressing in, so you've got a midfield block, and then you regain the ball, you play forward quick. Limited touches, create opportunities, keep clean sheets. So that in itself that's how we coach, that's how we train, and you're adaptable to a formation. It's not about a formation. It's about the individuals in that team, whatever formation it is, playing fast, dynamic football. And that is how I see the game. I see Liverpool do it brilliantly. Mm-hmm. I see Man City do it brilliantly. Halfway line to the goal. How they get there is difficult for non-top elite players.
Of course.
So everything over the halfway line, it's fast, it's counter-attack, it's limited. They've gone long ball last year because of Haaland.
Yeah.
The amount of times they've played long into him and over the top and through, that is outstanding football. But everyone thinks Man City play 70 passes before they
score. Well, when a pass is played by a £70 million defender over, then it's a world class pass, isn't it? When it's owned by Wimbledon, it's long ball football.
So if you get the ball off the keeper and you go out to a full back and you play a diagonal ball over the back four and Haaland runs on and scores, that's a world class goal.
Yeah.
So it's all perception, and I want to play fast, dynamic, quick football.
Okay.
And that, for me,
that's the definition.
Has been instrumental in the players that we brought into the club so far.
Okay. I think it's interesting what you were saying about with the fans, though. I think all that fits together. So when you've got that pace, when you've got that speed, when you've got that excitement, it gets the crowd going. The atmosphere in the ground obviously the atmosphere at Latics is getting better and better with Atleticos and obviously more people coming in and the optimism. What a fantastic surface that looks like now. I mean, what a pitch it looks like out there. But the lads can't wait to go out.
Yeah, so we're training on it for the first time next Wednesday, so that'll be fantastic. But yeah, I mean, this place, the last game of the season, I thought our fans were like...
Yeah, it was great.
The noise level went up, and this can be a real bear pit. It can be a real hostile environment. Unfortunately, for previous managers and myself at the beginning, the hostility was towards our own team and management. Now, I think we've turned that corner. I know there are a minority who aren't happy, but you'll never please them anyway. But once it's so powerful. Yeah. When you get all that singing and dancing, behind your team, behind your management, behind your coaching staff. Wow, that's what it was like at Notts County. That's what it was like at Wrexham. When I was stood on the touchline in these places, it was like, they're not just a good team, but you got to beat the fans as well.
I promise you it'll be like that here, because that minority is like that because we're just chatting to John Eberl. There's only 2 teams in the top 5 divisions of English football that have not won anything since the year 2000.
Or achieved anything, promotions or anything like that.
And those 2 clubs are Oldham and Everton. And so it's because of the length of time that there's like this sort of expectation that it won't be successful in amongst the terrace. That it's like a dark humour that's got us through those years.
I understand.
That still pervades. We could do, we've said this before, we could do with Mick Rathbone, like doing a psychological experiment on a few fans just to work out what help they need.
Because we looked into it that whole time this is our 4th season on the podcast now. We've looked into that whole thing about our psychology as a fan base, because we've really dug into everything, and because we have come from it's been a difficult place, but it's time to let that go.
Absolutely.
Because things are different now.
Absolutely. And, it's a 46-game season. And if we don't win a game, or we draw a game, and it can't be doom and gloom.
No.
Yeah.
Because we've shown our form from just literally New Year onwards that we can go on a run. And I speak to Hogs about it all the time. The run that Stockport went on. Then they won the last 10 games or something.
Well, he started badly as well.
Yeah. So, listen, I don't want us to start badly.
No. But they did. Yeah, but still went up.
There might be periods of time where, we don't get the rub of the green, or we draw a few games, or we might lose a couple, but we've got to stick together.
Plymouth were a great example a few years ago.
Absolutely.
They were in the bottom 3, weren't they? Right, and they went off and got promoted.
And obviously closer to home, what's going on at Everton. The last 2 seasons, the fans have got them over the line. Fans have played the part. Now, it's so powerful. I don't realise this. I don't know if the fans realise how influential they can be to their own team or to the opposition in what they decide to do and say and sing and act.
Yeah.
It is all part of the performance.
Yeah. And so come on, everyone who's listening, come on, let's go. No,
it's a bit of a rallying cry, wasn't it? Yeah.
But we're in the same place because that's what we've been saying for a long time. So let's the people who are listening now, let's maybe give them something to think about. So have we finished our recruitment business for the summer? Are you still looking? The obvious one would be, is that me? Are you?
You.
Oh dear!
That's a fine.
Yeah, it is a fine.
What do you want to fine me for that? That's bad, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, we know we not that we were earwigging the conversation you had before, but you were talking about someone we don't know who, but we could do is obviously business ongoing all the time, and I guess that'll be the case right up until
I'm not going to start. I'm not
going
to start because we have an opportunity in this league, and you can slate it for whatever reason, or we can have a go at it for not having 2 automatics. The great thing that we had last year was the fact that we could recruit players all the way through. Yeah. Because we'd have been knackered if we hadn't.
Yeah, no.
We would have been in deep. Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah.
I won't swear.
Well, we all know what
we would have been in a bit of trouble, I feel, if we hadn't been able to keep recruiting at the rate that we did. So no, I haven't finished. I haven't.
The obvious position looks like a right back.
Well, I want 3 more players before the start of the season.
Bloody hell, 3 more.
And I know exactly who I want. And, Darren does and Steve does and John, we all know who we want. And then the amount of players and the quality of players that are being offered to us, I want to go to Frank and say, can I double the budget? Because honestly, the caliber of players that are being offered to us, because they see what's going on, they know, hopefully, the journey
the club's going places.
The club's going places, and it's not just this season; it's next season as well.
It's
to keep going and go get to the heights that we all want to go.
So the journey we've been on, I don't want to keep harping on about it, but when you start looking into football and our club and the way that it is, and the balance between this club has got to be sustainable. We can't afford to just throw money non-stop. And so it's marrying that expectation of that, because it seems to me that you're signing players as well who potentially have a sell-on value, because that's important for the club to keep the club going. Because young players who have proven themselves at a lower division, they come up, and that's all part of that big process. We've been talking about Luton and how brilliantly they're fantastic inspiration.
Absolutely.
Well, we can't afford, because we've learned the lesson so many times, to just throw money that we don't have or that is not sustainable at the football club. So we as fans, we all want to see us go up this season. We know that the money gets less next season, but fundamentally, this as a business has to work, doesn't it? And hopefully keep moving in the right direction at the same time.
And Frank and his family have dug deep, to save the club and then give me a competitive budget. I'll always spend it. I'll always go and try and get more, because I think that's right. I think that's how you keep pushing and you keep getting better. And I'll always ask the question.
It's up to them to say no at the end of the day.
Well, they have done a few times so far. It's we have to be sustainable. When did we last sell a player for decent money? I don't know. You'll be able to tell me. I don't know.
We sold someone from the youth team recently to Newcastle, didn't we? There's a chap called Sam Alabi for about £250,000. Harry Vaughan to Hull will have a load of sell-on fees probably involved in there.
A first-team player.
First team player for significant chunk of money.
Established player who went to somebody's first team, not academy, for a considerable amount of money.
Now, this is to show that it isn't just as we had 2 guys that Moroccan who came in and thought that they could bring in players from the lower French division. No, they got an eye for a player and they were going to sell them on. And that was their whole business model. It was a complete disaster. Obviously, like you say, it's obvious to spot with the signings. I mean, I know I'm getting old now, but I'm looking in there and looking at the likes of Hobson and Willoughby. I think, God, they look young, but that's because I'm getting older. But they're young footballers, but they're reaching their prime and. They're here to do well, and if a good move in comes in, brilliant. Money for the club, invest again.
And that's what we've got to do. We might have to sell a player every year to be sustainable, to earn a profit. And I'm all right with that.
It means we've got good players.
Absolutely. I'm all right with that. But you can't bring a whole squad of players who are from the league below or 2 leagues below and expect them to then be competitive. And
the answer to that question, I think, was Johnson Clark Harris to Rotherham or Corey Smith to Bristol City, probably, for like $300,000 a piece.
Okay, so how long ago would that be?
5-6 years ago.
There you go. Probably, there you go. So in that 5-6 years, we've been in steady decline.
Yeah.
And
long time before that.
You don't sell players like that.
So let's talk about some of the players that have come in. So Charlie Raglan, surely we weren't scouting him because he was 2 divisions above us and looked like we was out of our reach. He must have been.
It's funny because we were, only because of who we've scouted previously in terms of Chapman last year.
Yeah.
So we were aware of him.
Yeah.
And honestly, the pull of the amount of times an agent phones me or Steve phones me and says, "You won't believe this player. He wants to come." I was like, "Brilliant. He's a Manchester lad."
Oh, yeah.
He's from Manchester. He wants to come back up to Manchester.
Yeah.
He's just outside Oldham.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Is it?
And Charlie just had a young family.
Yeah.
Turned down a 2-year deal. Wanted to come back to Manchester to be with his family. And saw what was going on here.
Yeah.
The momentum, what we were building, the new owners, our form. And wanted to be a part of it. So we snapped him up as quick as we could do the deal.
He looks. I mean, he's obviously not a younger player signed with potential selling, but he looks the real deal in terms of.
Well, you've got to get the balance, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly.
You've got to get 2 or 3 experienced boys, and who the know-how of, above the leagues above, really.
Yeah.
Hey, you're nothing with kids.
Yeah. So how close were we to Andy Dallas then?
How close were we? We've had discussions.
Right.
With him and his agent, made him an unbelievable offer. It wasn't right for the player, so it wasn't right for us, and it looks like he's going to go to League One.
Sheffield Wednesday, I think.
That I've heard that, or somewhere else, League One.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's. But you mentioned the name, and I said I wouldn't lie to you. So. He's one of a number of players who we've spoken to.
Yeah. And then, obviously, the other one, which we touched on earlier, so obviously Joseph Yarney, I mean, we've replaced him adequately, it looks like, so it doesn't seem like it's going to hurt us. But he was great at the end of the season, and we gave him our end of season award. And
yeah,
did we fuck that up a bit?
Delusions of grandeur.
No, I think you got it. I think you got it right. He was terrific, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So
did we offer him a 2-year deal or a 1-year deal?
Okay. So when he came in. He came in and he had registration from India, so we couldn't offer him a permanent deal because legislation, blah blah blah. We would have had to get international clearance. Could take 2 weeks, could take 2 months. So we signed him to the end of the season.
Yeah.
So brilliant. So Joe and his agent, quite rightly, said, "Well, if I do well, can we agree a deal for another year?" So we went, fair point. I think Darren and I are always fair in negotiations. So we went, yeah, that's fair. So we agreed a deal. So we signed that. Fantastic. So that was, when was that? Was it
probably the winter,
January?
Winter.
So he signed to the end of the season. We've agreed another deal if he does well. We go off on this journey of winning games, which was brilliant, and his form was great. Teams winning. We pick up and we finish really strong. So we come to sign the deal, and Joe's gone, well, I've got Player of the Year. Thanks, guys.
That's what I mean.
I've got Player of the Year. Is there any chance of any more money? Is there a chance of another year? So Darren and I, being fair men, said, okay, fair point. You've done really well. We want to reward performance, which we feel is right.
Yeah.
So we offered him improved terms, and the second year on appearances.
Okay.
Which then got chipped down to less appearances to guarantee a second year. That was it. So Joe didn't feel that was reflective of his performance. He wanted 2 years guaranteed. He wanted more money. And both Darren and I said, no, we think we've been fair. We're not. We've got a lot of targets that we're going after. That's it. That's the deal. So he declined. So I spoke to Joe, and Joe wanted more money in a 2-year guarantee, and I didn't feel that was right for the club. The goalpost kept shifting, kept moving, and all right, we'll move with them a couple of times, but every time we seemed to agree something, it moved again. So it just became a saga, and. Quite honestly, I said to Darren, look, we need to walk away. We need to just, this is the beginning of the summer. We've got 8-9 weeks plus pre-season to see who's out there. We already had our list of targets, and that was it.
The obvious question that invites is, what's it like dealing with agents?
Well,
so following Andy Dallas and the Joseph Yarley stories.
Andy Dallas's agent was great, and he was a bit of a character, and I quite enjoyed that one. But Darren deals with 90% of them.
Does he?
And I thank him dearly for that. Because there are good agents, but there's an awful lot of, how can I put this diplomatically? There's an awful lot of difficult conversations you have to have. And
you said that almost like Darren would have done, because you'd have asked Darren, he would have said
Darren
the
Royal
same thing.
could double as a diplomat and an MP, because he's brilliant with them. He is he's very experienced with them, obviously, and he has a great manner. And thankfully, he deals with them, not me.
Fair enough.
My fuse is a little too short, I think, for most of them.
Fair enough. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's what it looks like from the outside in. Like, I mean, there must be some. When you were a player, presumably you had an agent in your day. Was there agents? Yeah, there would have been. Yeah. So you'll know from being a player, good agent versus bad agent. But the thing I always find fascinating about agents in this game is in any other business, walk of life, an agent earns his money from the person who's employed him. So that would be the player in this instance. Yet the agent wants paying by the club often for representing the player, and I find that the most bizarre.
There's all new tax rules around that now. The player has to pay tax on that and all that sort of stuff. So the rules keep changing. And listen, I have to say there are some very, very good agents,
I'm sure,
and I have to say that because there actually are. There are some great guys out there who you can trust, who have got the best interests of the player and the club. And
it must be obvious to you when you see an agent that is not putting his client first.
Yeah, well, and it upsets me because my background is youth development, and I've seen young players that at the age of 13, 14 have agents, and it honestly it really upsets me when I see bad advice. And we've had a few examples of that this summer, and it's hard because you're sitting there and the player, the parents, they are just hanging on every word of the agent, and you just know that these agents aren't getting paid until they move this player, and it's not always the right decision to move a player.
Yeah,
and we've experienced that a couple of times, and it's disappointing. Because what that agent should be saying is, stay here for a couple of years, earn your stripes, get a real foundation, and then the move will come in 2-3 years' time. But he doesn't get paid then, does he?
No, exactly.
But
a good agent has plenty of players on his books.
Exactly.
And they're moving at the right time.
Exactly.
I mean, obviously we're going to wrap this conversation up shortly because we've taken up a lot of your time and we appreciate it. But from this conversation, it shows there are a lot of moving parts. Yeah. There are a lot of people to consider when you're dealing in football clubs and players and staff and all that kind of stuff. And like we were talking about with Joe Yarni, it's all transitional. In football, it's like in life in general, but particularly in football, there's a lot of turnover. There's a lot of people moving around. You need a core at a football club that doesn't do that. And there has to be. This club is now, it seems like we're moving into that phase where we've said it, how many times we've said it more than anything. This club needs stability.
Yeah.
At management level, at board level, and within the squad, because you need a nucleus of the squad to stick together, or first team to stick together, a spine of a team, as people always call it. This is the first proper season now, I would say, that we're going into where we've got that. Because last season, you've already explained why that is. This is the first season, and I think the expectations of a lot of fans have shifted up a gear. I'm sure your expectations of your players have shifted up a gear. 442 magazine put us down for finishing 15th. Now, we can only expect that it was either a Rochdale fan or a Tranmere fan that wrote that, because there's no way we're going to finish 15th this season. So just tell us a little bit about your expectations and your hopes and how you're feeling about going into this next season.
Well, I feel great. Everything, I mean, you sum it up brilliantly. I would just add, it's about relationships as well. So the board, brilliant people. The relationships that the board have with each other are fantastic. Everything is transparent. Everything is there open. I mean, you've got the owner, sitting and standing with our fans, so it all starts with the leadership and our leadership. In Darren Royal, you've got, I'm biased because I see him and work with him every day, and I know the amount of work he has on and what he does and the quality of it. And, you can't measure that for the fans about what an unbelievable job. If it wasn't for Darren, the Rothwells wouldn't be in charge of this club. I'm telling you that now. He brought them to the table. He was the one who was instrumental in bringing that family to this club, and he's an unbelievable CEO. We are very lucky to have him. Let me tell you that now. I'm amazed that an elite team has not come after him because he's that good. but I know his loyalty is to this football club. You know, through his own experience as a player, he lives in the town. His dad, obviously, is a legend here. He's the man, and he's desperate for football. So the fundamental leadership at the club is right. The relationships are right. My relationship with Darren, my relationship with Frank, the board, is fantastic. Now the staff. Now you're having relationships with the staff. Now the players. My relationship with the fans, I believe, has improved. I think it's improved. I think I want it better. I want it better than it is already, but I'm happy with it. So everything is right. Everything feels good. I think we've recruited really well. I'm not going to come on here and say we're going to win the league by 20 points. We're going to have over 100 points, because that would be foolish. My job is to manage expectation, to keep the group grounded. If we win the first 5 games, if we win the first 6 games, 6 games, I'll have to ground the players. I don't want anybody getting ahead of themselves. Just at the same time, if we don't win a few, I'll pick them up. It's a long, arduous, hard season, but it feels right for the first time. It feels like we've, with all the work that we've done, with all the recruitment we've done to staff and players, there's a great feeling around the place. I would ask the fans to just stay with us. I think that's, and we touched on it before, it is so important that the part they play to get us from being a good team to a great team. They can make that difference. I've seen it with my own eyes at Everton, where they've got a team that was destined for relegation over the line just through being vocal and sticking together for 95 minutes. It feels like it could be a special season. It really does. And I don't want to let anybody down. I want to be here for a massive amount of time. I want to build something.
I was thinking about that a minute ago. Our 2 longest serving managers did 12 years apiece, back to back. So a quarter of a century with 2 managers. And they're club legends, and they succeeded at various levels. So yeah, if you're here in 12 years' time, then we're all going to be delighted because we'll have gone somewhere.
But I've given the owner, the board, and Darren my word that that as long as they want me here, obviously, I won't walk away if somebody comes sniffing, because
if Everton did, I think we'd all be fine with that. But
they'd have to pay a lot of money for the club anyway. But you know what I mean. I want to build something. This is my first proper job as a manager, in the big wide world, and I want to build something. And I've been given that opportunity, and that opportunity is really, really important for me, because I've waited so long for the right opportunity. And I feel sat here now with you that it was the right decision. So, if anybody comes sniffing, I'm not interested. Okay. I'm not interested, because you're only as good as your word, aren't you? And my word to Darren and Frank was, I want to stay here for a long time. And that hopefully we're all working hard. We get success, and that happens.
The point you made about players, an agent knowing when to stay, knowing when to go. Football management is littered with managers that chose the wrong time to leave and that made a move that was ultimately disastrous for their career, because sometimes like you're part of a piece, a really important part of a piece, and when we've seen it ourselves at the club, it's like alchemy in a way. So many things have to be right for a football club to be successful, and it takes time to build those pieces. As soon as one of those things goes, the whole thing comes out of kilter, out of balance. Yeah. You don't just automatically go into another club and be the perfect fit, do you? So if you can get up to the point where people are sniffing around with a club performing, it's a big decision.
Yeah, and I've waited a long time for the right opportunity with the right club that's got the right people in charge that will give you the best opportunities to succeed. And the timing of coming in here is, so far, it seems right. It seems perfect, because we've basically been able to build it from scratch. Yeah. And that means a lot to me, and my loyalty to Darren, to Frank, my relationships now with Luke.
Do you speak with Joe much? Still?
All the time.
Yeah,
all the time. Yeah. All the time. He's been up to training a couple of times. He's at the games. If you can't learn off Joe Royle, well, then you're a fool. Because he's the man. Yeah. He's the Don Corleone. of the football management world. So, I've got that on tap. So, and he's desperate, for us to succeed again because, it must be upsetting for him to see where the club is and where the club has gone, because he left it in the best state that it's ever been in. So I think he feels like he wants to play his part as well, and he certainly is doing.
Just before we wrap up, because we do have to wrap
it's
up.
It's fine,
now. But in terms of the, so you talked about Franny Jeffers. Obviously, he's left. Are we going to replace him? Is there a plan to replace him? What's going on with the B team? Have we entered him into a league? Is there anything? Any plans for that?
So Franny got a brilliant offer to join Robbie Fowler in Saudi. He felt where he was at, sort of personally in his career, personally in his life, that it was an offer that he couldn't refuse. And I understand that. I understand that. So
we all do, really.
Yeah. So what we've asked Steve Thompson to do is to come on the grass with us as well.
Okay.
So because the recruitment department is all set up and all, secure, and all the different people and all the different facets of it are in place, Steve's a brilliant coach, an experienced coach. So Steve's
assistant at Blackpool, wasn't he?
Yeah, when they got promoted to the Premier League, and he took all the training. He's on the grass with us now every day.
Right.
Okay. At the weekends, he'll be going to his games, and so he's doubling up a little bit. But I felt he was itching to get his boots on. He's too good a coach to not be on the grass, and it just felt like the perfect opportunity. So Steve has joined John and I and Steve Collis on the grass every day, which is brilliant.
So who will manage it? So the B team, which was a big part of the thing when you came in, having a pathway for the youth to get into the first team. There was a massive gap between the two. Obviously, Franny was running that. In the first season, we weren't in a league.
No.
Have we entered a league now?
So there isn't really a competitive league that will allow the players to play every week.
Okay.
So I'm a massive advocate of B teams. I love them as long as you can play every week.
Yeah.
So, the worst thing a young player can do is train all week and then not have a game.
Yeah.
It's demoralising,
Yeah.
So what we've done this year is because of the changeover with the academy, we've only got 5 young pros this year.
Yeah.
So they're all on loan.
All on loan, yeah.
So we've got 4 out of the 5 now fixed up on loan.
Yeah.
So they're training with the first team every day, and then they play in the games at the weekend, which is a perfect scenario.
Yeah.
The B team is something I love. When there's a competitive league, we'll join one.
Yeah, something within the game itself that's got to change.
And that's I'm talking the Man Cities and Man Uniteds and Everton and Liverpools of this world would far benefit from having a B team as well.
Yeah.
We don't have enough bodies and we don't have a league to go into, so I don't want to,
I noticed this Jake Forshaw scored for Colin in the week.
He did.
So
he did.
It was a good
by all
start
accounts, he played well. So he's looked good in pre-season.
Well, if you don't mind me asking, one of the things that in the past which was terrible to see we had have serious pros like David Wheater, a real gentleman as well, training with the youth because he was banished away from the first team environment, and we all hated that because it was awful to see, good professionals being treated poorly, and obviously those times are hopefully gone. But there have been 1 or 2 players that are possibly with the youth that have been in the first team squad. How are we managing that now in this sort of new, more professional era?
So everybody's gone now.
Have they all gone?
Yeah. So
is John Rooney still
So John
around?
Rooney's talking to a couple of clubs at the moment, and we expect him to finalise something in the next, I don't know, Darren's onto it, so in the next week or so.
Okay, right. So then there's no one in that. So
no.
Jason Luke Wilder's gone.
So Jason's gone, Luke Burgess is gone.
So it's just John Rooney left.
John and Windass went to Darlington on loan for the season. So that was probably a bit of the fact that we had too many players last year.
Yeah. We get it.
And we don't have anything in between. So there's the first team and then there's the youth team.
Yeah.
So I'm massive on sort of the 3 fundamentals of any football club: recruitment, good coaching, and then team environment.
Yeah.
And there's nothing worse than, somebody or a group of players who aren't going to be in your team, around it when they know they're going to be going, because it's not good for them, and it's not good for the players, and it's not good for the environment. So pre-season's a time just to get fit. So, if that was the case,
we talked about it on the pod, didn't we? Because how difficult a task it must have been last season, just having all those bodies around. And as a manager, as a personnel manager, just having to deal with them as men and knowing that they know, don't they? They're not going to get in the first team.
It's nothing personal.
No.
And I spoke to every single one of them at the end of the season, told them exactly how I felt, told them exactly what the plan was. So they've been told in known circumstances that find yourself a club. You're not in my plans.
Yeah.
And that's just football.
Yeah,
it happened to me at Wigan.
Yeah.
I scored a goal that kept Wigan in the Premier League, and then 2 days later I got released. Mm-hmm. So I know that it's not nice, but unfortunately it's part of the game that you. The best thing to do is just be honest.
Yeah.
Be honest with the players. Tell them face to face, and then it's up to them and their agents then to try and find a way out.
You just don't want people to be treated, like you said, unfairly or unreasonably.
No.
And in the past, people had been who were, good men and were treated badly. And you don't want that in this new era. You want everyone to be treated respectfully. So it's just good to sort of, I guess, wrap that up. Because
no problem. I totally understand. But every single one of those players, we had a conversation with.
Yeah.
And then we offered them the opportunity to either train at home, have a program from us, train with the fitness coaches, train in the gym. So everything was offered to them.
Yeah.
There was no issues. It's just that I wanted to keep my first team,
better enough,
separate. So, and that's part of football, unfortunately.
Yeah. So one thing we haven't touched upon, which I've heard you talk about when the fans forum, but about loanees in effect. Mm. So one of the interesting factors is every single one of those players that we just walked past off the training ground and seen eating lunch are all contracted to Oldham Athletic, full-time employees, no loanees from anywhere. Feels like they're all together, and they're all working towards one objective. Good loanees can make a difference, right? But we've had a revolving door in the past of a procession of loanees that have not put the club first. There's been some good examples as well. I detect there's possibly you might use the loan market if available, but you're not necessarily keen. But I wonder is it hard to attract decent loanees when you're in Division 5? So the likes of an Everton, there may have been an expectation when you came from Everton. There was a lot of fans thought, "Oh well, hello, we're going to get Everton, the best of Everton's youth team, because David Unsworth will bring you with him," and that hasn't happened. But I wonder, is it because we're in Division 5? Everton are like, "No, we don't want to drop them that low. We'd rather drop them in somewhere else."
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah.
And if I have my Everton hat on and I can get a league club for a player, I'm going to do that first.
Yeah.
So we inquired last year for a couple of Everton players, a couple of City players, a United player. I'm trying to think who else was there. I tried to keep it local because I think loans for elite young players are best when they're local.
Yeah.
I can't remember if there was a Liverpool player. Anyway, so we inquired about a number of players last year and all got told basically no. So then we went to the next tier, Sheffield United. Obviously, we got Sidney Peck, who was flying at the time, and I think because our expectations have changed, our what's the word? Where we want to be in terms of automatic promotion, playoff promotion. I don't want to bring a player in who isn't going to be able to get us promoted. Mm-hmm. We will be playing players on their first loan probably, and we don't know what we're going to get.
Yeah.
And that's okay if there's a hope that we might get into the playoffs. Now, 12 months ago, that for this year was probably what the plan was.
Yeah.
The plan's shifted because we're moving fast.
Yeah.
And that's great, and that's what we want. So if we do get a loan now, it's going to have to be of top quality, probably elite, and somebody who can come in and we know what we're going to get, not hope what we're going to get. There's a big difference.
Yeah.
But presumably the chances of getting that player have increased now. Like we've already touched upon where the club's at, the facilities, when the parent club looking at. a club in the past are going, you're not going there, mate.
Yeah.
I mean, but now you can you can show them around, and they'll be happy to send them.
Absolutely. You look at the training facilities now. You look at our different departments, how we look after the players. It's all changed. I couldn't guarantee any young player that last year.
When you say 62% of your squad is injured, they're not going to send an elite young, someone so valuable with that risk attached to it. Aren't
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the loan market is. We look at it. We're watching games all the time. We know. I know everybody's young players in the area. Certainly the big clubs. I know them all the players. I've seen them for years, so I know what's out there.
Yeah.
But you've got to be careful with. I spoke to Phil Parkinson early on in the season, and they didn't have any loan players. I said, "Go on," and we were targeting Bolton's players, Sheffield United, Wigan, just to get better players through the door. Yeah. And he just said, "Look, try to leave it alone." It was a great bit of advice. He said, because you don't know what you're going to get. You are trying to make other teams' players better. If you're going to loan someone, be it a second loan or a third loan, because then they're a little bit older, a little bit wiser, and the league is relentless. It's physical. It's horrible. It's the dark arts sometimes. Certainly from from a defensive point of view, you have to stand up to the physical challenge. So it was good advice that Phil gave me, and I've sort of, as we've quickened up our sort of approach of where we want to go, that stuck with me. So it's available to us, probably in emergency, unless something
there's no doubt
outstanding became available.
This club has been using it because it had no other choice in the past.
And I get it.
Literally a case of, we need to boost the squad numbers. With injuries, we need someone that can go out there and run around.
Yeah.
And it literally was a case of that. So, things have changed. But I think this interview has been really good in highlighting some of the transition, where we've come from to where we're at. It's chalk and cheese, Andy. You and I have had it. It's been great, hasn't it? I've had it.
Well, do you know what I was thinking? If you think about all the podcast episodes we've done over the last, entering our fourth year, this is probably the first episode where we talked solely and only about football.
Yeah.
Well, that's brilliant to hear.
And that shows you.
Well, that's great to hear,
where
guys.
we come from.
Yeah, it does. And I am an adopted Oldham Athletic fan now. I can't ever begin to understand the depth that this club went to. I've been told. My PA, Sue, is the most amazing Oldham Athletic fan you've ever seen. She tells me probably a different story every day about something that triggers a memory and something that happened in those times. And I've heard some horrendous stories. I've heard some stories off a player when I was sat in the dugout at Eastleigh, a French midfielder that got sacked because he was injured. And it's just horrendous. Some of the stuff I've heard, and that side wasn't speaking to this side, and that he wouldn't speak. It's pathetic.
Yeah,
it was awful.
It's hard enough, gents, when everybody's pulling in the right direction to be successful in this game, right? When everyone's at it, and it's hard enough still.
Yeah.
I can never ever imagine what it must have felt like for a football fan to experience what's gone on at this club over the period of time. And it's heartbreaking.
Well, I was chatting to Mark Sheridan on the way in.
He's a good guy, by the way.
He's a good guy,
really
Mark.
Good guy.
Yeah, it was a good chat to him. So for everyone who's listening, we've had the capacity on this stadium reduced for a series of years because it's been decrepit. So it's back up to full 13,000. Yeah. So we can get 13,000 fans back in here. All the maintenance that's gone on. The pitch is looking pristine. They were out there today blowtorching the seats to make them look shiny again.
Yeah.
It's getting the love and care and attention it needs. So everyone, I'm personally, this is the first time I've been excited about the start of the season, I think since 2009.
Yeah, It's a long time.
Right? So I've got butterflies in my stomach thinking about the start of the season. It's going to be really good fun. Yes, we'll lose some games, but we all know our form since Christmas was such that with the additions that we made, we're going to be challenging near the top end of it. You and John and everyone you can see the hard work that's going into it, and the owners and Darren, and we feel like we're going places. And in 12 years' time, when you're still our manager,
well, we'll do another podcast.
we'll all be celebrating it. And if we look at Luton, you know, I'm not saying we'll get there, but they're an inspiration. What they've achieved on minimal, comparatively minimal expenditure,
I think
it can be done.
I think you're allowed to dream now.
Yes,
and I think coming through what we've come through, and I've only been here just less than 12 months. You've experienced it more than I do. You know, that dream was a million miles away.
You couldn't dream.
So now,
even when we were in League One, I don't think we could have even thought about selling out Boundary Park. But I think the way that things have reset, the way that things have changed, if we're up there towards the end of this season, I think in Division 5 we can sell out Boundary Park. I think there's that enthusiasm from the fans for success, to see. It doesn't matter if we're in Division 5 or Division 3, whatever, to win, to get that promotion, that one that me and him are 45, 46. We've been alive for one promotion in our whole lives. So if we're up there towards the end of this season, the whole town is going to want to.
Well, that's my dream. I said that in a recent fan forum, and I want to see this place full against a great opposition where we win and it's bouncing. I've seen the videos and the clips and the photos from when we beat Liverpool here in the FA Cup. You know, I would have
enjoyed that, wouldn't you?
That would have been very special. So I want to see it full, and I want to see it full every week, like I saw Notts County and Wrexham last year. And the part that their fans played was immense for their football club, and our fans, you know, can play a huge part. They really can.
There's only one reason why Wrexham's ground was full every week, and why Notts County's was not there. They couldn't fill their ground. They got big ground. It's because they were winning football matches. Yeah. And some of us will come and week in, week out regardless, but the town will flock here. We're winning football matches. We're top of that league. Then it will be full. That's just the way it goes. And
So we just want to say, you know, to wrap it up, thank you very much for giving us, you know, your time today.
You've been very generous with your time.
You're very generous with your time. We wish you the absolute best of luck this season, and we hope to, you know, celebrate with you come the end of it.
Hey, listen, we'll be organising that promotion party anyway.
Next time we go to the barbecue bus, I'm going to have a drink. Don't worry about that.
Absolutely.
Fell out of sorts last time, so didn't feel part of it.
Gaffer, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, gents, and all the best to all the fans.
Despite one saying we never would, the effects of spending too much time with the Tory and the increasing costs of delivering twice weekly shows on an award-winning fan media channel means the Boundary Park alert system and Latics football phone-in are now finally available for advertising. If you'd like your business to reach a potential audience of thousands of Oldham fans every week across top platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts and YouTube, please email info@oafcpodcast.co.uk for information on the very reasonable packages available. The Boundary Park Alert System was voted North West Football Awards Fan Media Channel of the Year 2022.